But I mastered their styles like the Five Deadly Venoms. So all he had to do was get next to a nigga like that, he could destroy it.
Believe in that, real. We plan to take the same strategy we use with Death Row West, mind over matter, taking all our weaknesses and making it into our strength. That all these people talk about an East Coast, West Coast war, they like the Judas was to Jesus. They only here to cause confusion. We here to bring money and to bring change. They here to cause confusion. All these weak rappers, Nas, all these suckers, they battling off of East and West like this is a game. This ain't no game. If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 years ago, because we've been beat these. It's not a game.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Dear Lord, I come to you hungry and tired. You give me food and let me sleep. I come to you weak, what? You give me strength, and that's deep. Let me talk about this salt water. Yeah, no. And I'm back with some more boxing, and I'm about to go in on the salt water. Now, I told you I would return this Ego Valley. Let's get into it. In the words of Ice Cube, here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you.
Here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you.
So throughout this presentation, you're going to see some comments left on the initial video where I reported the saltwater healing in the video. And I think I was one of the first people to do it. And a lot of you, before you maniacs go crazy and say, oh, you just picked out certain comments that were slandering Pacquiao, you can go look at that video and you tell me how many other. There are some comments that were pro Pacquiao, if that's what you want to call it, but you're not going to find many because a lot of people are disappointed and don't believe in the story. Like I said, some of you guys say, oh, Ego, you're just biased. Now, this is comments from you. It's funny because when I make videos like this, they say, oh, you're attacking Pacquiao, you're biased, you hate Pacquiao. But you guys are leaving very similar comments in terms of your level of disappointment and not believing this whole shoulder healing saltwater shenanigans, period. Now, a lot of people, they're like, oh, you just hate Pacquiao. In fact, it's the contrary. I actually am disappointed in Pacquiao. And I don't hate Pacquiao. I follow his whole career. But it's disrespecting the sport when things like this come out. Instead of just being a grown man, take your L, take your lump, and say, hey, I lost to Floyd Mayweather. He was a better man that night. I want a rematch. I could do better. I had no problem with that. But instead, we're hearing all these shoulder injuries and different things that come about after, and all he was doing was running. He wasn't really fighting. I didn't feel his punches. I think I won the fight. And this is getting to the point where it's ridiculous. That's why Ego Valley has to step in. Again, I have a love for the sport more than any individual fighter or anything else. And I think it's disrespectful, this whole injury shoulder gate situation, because there's guys that have fought with broken jaws, concussions. Timothy Bradley fought with a concussion early on in the Ruslan Provodnikov fight. Guys like Gabe Rosado that fought with a detached retina. Guys that have fought with broken orbitals, shattered knees, like Sergio Martinez couldn't even stand and he still made it into the second half of the fight. Sam Solomon, guys like that. Andre Berto, who we know for a fact fought with one arm. So to me, it is disrespectful to have this whole shoulder gate and not just accept your loss and your defeat. So to me, it's a disrespect and it's shameful to the sport of boxing to see this level of unprofessionalism and bad sportsmanship. Like I said, people with injuries, people that have died in that ring for the sake of boxing. That's why I have a problem with it. It's not about Pacquiao particularly. He just happens to be the person who is in question right now. And I think it's not doing any justice to his legacy. He has a great career. Why end on this note, on a sour note? If anything, just come back stronger. Like, you've taken losses before. And to me, the loss wasn't, you know what I mean? You've been knocked out before. So this loss was, everyone loses a decision to Floyd Mayweather. It's not the end of the world. But to act like this, I just truthfully can't respect that kind of demeanor. And I think it's disrespectful to the sport. And it's even more disrespectful that you have the boxing media who won't even cover it and they won't even talk about it. And they're almost okay with it. So they painted Floyd out to be this devil. And then all this comes about and then people are still acting like this is okay. So yeah, Ego's out for justice. Now, let's also talk about the Phil Starr. When I initially did the saltwater video, some of you guys did get mad. You said I was lying, even though I gave you the link to the article. And this is the thing. That article in my video came out some time ago. And I have yet to hear Manny Pacquiao get on wax, get on the horn and say, Phil Starr's lying. Why not put them in the hot seat and say, hey, I never said those things? Triple G's team did it when he did an interview and then it was published, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, wait, our fighter didn't say that. He didn't say these types of things about Andre Ward. And they came and cleared the air, set the record straight, saying, hey, these guys are lying. They misinterpreted, misconstrued what we had actually said in the interview, and they falsified and ran with their own story. Triple G's team, that's in recent news that they did this. So why would Pacquiao, when you have a story that's gaining steam, people on YouTube, boxing websites, USA Today just dropped an article about this, the same story that I told you guys a little while ago, and is gaining steam in the fans. I've seen on Instagram, all kinds of people are talking about it, making saltwater memes and things like that. Why not address it? Who wouldn't address it at this point for their credibility's sake if what you guys said was true? Now, you got people that said they're making videos or writing articles like this is not true. Pacquiao never said these things. Yet Pacquiao and his team is not even coming out disputing these comments. Why not challenge the Phil Starr if it is a lie? Why allow it to just bleed on if you never really said that? That makes no sense. Even the president of the United States, Bill Clinton, he was lying, and he at least addressed the nation about Monica Lewinsky. He said, I just want the American people to know that I did not have sexual relations with that woman. The skank, she's lying on me. And he was lying. He actually did have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, but he at least tried to save face. So even if you were going to lie, you at least address it because the heat is on you. It's a hot topic. It's a trending topic. It's a rumor mill, and people are talking about it. So why would Team Pacquiao or Manny himself not challenge the Phil Starr, which again is a Filipino-based media outlet? First of all, I don't see why they would be out just to slander the biggest Filipino star that's out there. You know what I mean? And they didn't really say it in the article. If you look at how it's written, it wasn't written to condemn him. They were saying, oh, it's a spiritual, miraculous healing, right? And it just so happens that it got a lot of backlash where people are like, this sounds like BS. This doesn't sound true. And this injury is fishy to me. So again, why not address it? Why would you allow it to just linger on and people keep speculating if you never said those things? Like some of you guys said in the comment section, oh, Pacquiao, you're a liar, Ego. Pacquiao never said that. If he never said it, why wouldn't he challenge the Phil Starr who publicized this article that he allegedly didn't do? Now, in true Ego Valley fashion, I'm going to put the nail in the coffin. Some people, when I reported the groupies, the detractors, they got mad and they said, you're no doctor, Ego. You're right. I'm not a doctor. I'm no dummy either. I'm not a puppet. I'm not going to just believe anything somebody tries to force feed me without thinking with my own brain. That's also true. So let's actually listen to what the doctor of this surgery said about it. Link in the description. Shout out to ABS-CBN News, who did the interview with Pacquiao's doctor, Dr. Neil ElAttrache, and we'll explore what he said regarding Manny Pacquiao's shoulder. Again, link in the description. I quote, the things that go into the severity, what's meaningful to us as surgeons, what is the condition of the tissue? Can it be replaced to the area where it was torn from? What is the health of the muscle? What is the health of the bone? Those are things to us that are meaningful to us as far as severity. He goes on to say, you could have a very large tear, but if the quality of the tissue is good, the health of the muscle is good, the health of the bone is good, and the tissue can be replaced back to where it came from in the first place, in other words, if you can restore the normal anatomy, then the size of the tear is of secondary concern. These other things that we sometimes can't make normal are of more concern. And finally, he says, in Manny's case, it was a sizable tear, but the tissue was healthy. It could be replaced back to its normal anatomic position, and the type of repair that was able to be performed in the situation was extremely strong repair. The muscle was very good, very healthy. There was no atrophy of the muscle at all. So let me break this down in layman's terms. You guys have to understand medical terms. He's telling you, he's giving you the blueprint right there. He said Pacquiao did have a significant tear. Also, he says in this muscle group in question, there's 4 parts that make up this muscle. It's in the interview. There's 4 parts. Pacquiao had 1.5 that were torn. He says it's rare that all 4 are torn, but rare means it's still a possibility. It's still possible to have a tear on all 4 parts of this muscle. It's rare and it doesn't happen often. So that's the maximum. So we'll say that's the maximum. We round down, Pacquiao had 1 tear out of 4, right? So you had 1 tear out of the 4. So it's not the worst possible. They said it's significant tear. That already tells you that, because if there's 4 parts of the muscle group and Pacquiao had a tear on 1 of them, right? Then it's not the max. 4 would be the max. So not 2, he didn't have 3, he didn't have 4, he had 1. He had 1 tear. Then he goes on to tell you, this is the blueprint. You can have a very large tear, but if the quality of the tissue is good, the health of the muscle is good, the health of the bone is good, and the tissue could be replaced, then in other words, he's saying the tear size doesn't really matter. He's telling you, the doctor himself. In Manny's case, it was a sizable tear, but the tissue was healthy. It could be replaced. So in layman's terms, the size, it's not about the size, it's the motion in the ocean. No, speaking of the ocean, the saltwater ocean, he's telling you that it's not necessarily just about the size. It's about the surrounding areas, the tissue, the muscle fibers that make up that immediate area. So he's basically telling you the significance of this shoulder injury is embellished. And the reason I say that is because Team Pacquiao, they're saying, we won the fight. Then they're saying we would have won the fight if we had 2 healthy arms, but we didn't. And then the doctor himself is telling you that it's not necessarily about the size. Pacquiao had 1 of 4 that were torn. And it's not necessarily about the size. It's about how healthy the surrounding area is. So again, if Team Pacquiao is suggesting they lost the fight to Floyd Mayweather based on the fact that 1 arm wasn't healthy, and it's sounding very minimal based on what the doctor's saying. He didn't have all 4 parts of the muscle torn, and he clearly tells you, in Manny's case, the surrounding issues, the fibers, the tissue, the bone, were all copacetic. They were all in good shape in Pacquiao's particular condition. So, like I told you before, this whole shoulder injury, to me, is embellished, and this is further proof of it. Because if it wasn't, then why wouldn't the doctor, on video, be like, yeah, Manny was in bad shape. We didn't know if he would ever get the full range of motion back. He had 3 severely damaged. You could tell by his demeanor. Listen, look at the video. You could tell by his demeanor. Like, if it was one of the worst, the reporter actually asked him, they said, in terms of damage, what is the severity? How would you rate Manny's particular injury? And then that's when he goes on to say, you know what? That's not really what we look at. We don't really look at necessarily the size, because you can have a large tear, but there's a lot that goes into the severity. That, you know what I mean? It's like a roundabout way of saying it was minor. You know what I'm saying? He says we look at the surrounding areas and this and that, as opposed to if it was one of the worst instances of a torn shoulder that he had seen, like they're making it out to be, then why wouldn't the doctor say, like, ooh, I was actually worried that Manny would never be able to fight again? You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect, but if you were to talk to, like, let's say Paul Williams' doctor, then I'm sure the prognosis would be a lot different. They'd be like, I don't know. We don't know if he's ever going to be able to walk again. He has a detached spine. His spinal cord was severely injured or severed in his accident, tragic accident. So unfortunately, we don't think he'll be able to walk again. The doctor is going to be a lot more like straightforward, and it's going to sound as severe as it really is. He's going to be confined to a wheelchair. Yet in this, you know what? It's about the surrounding areas, and the size doesn't matter. I mean, you guys can believe whatever you want. I think I've proved my point well enough. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video, The New World Order. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.